Hi everyone, welcome to our Teeth Genie. Today I'll be interviewing Meagan Young, who is a CTRS currently working in Florida. Meagan provides educational resources to TR professionals on her Grow Through Flow website, Instagram, and YouTube channel. Meagan also provides workshops and e-courses for TR professionals that include certified CEU courses. So without further ado, let's get to hearing about Meagan's TR story. Hi Meagan, thanks for
Hi.
taking the time to tell us a bit about your story today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, how about you introduce yourself and let us know where you're from and where you are now and how you got to where you are now?
Sure. So, my name is Meagan Young. I'm a recreation therapist, and I've been a certified therapeutic recreation specialist since the fall of 2012. So, I'm coming up on 9 years now, which is wild to think about. I'm originally from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I went to school in Newfoundland. And since that time, I've kind of been all over the map. And right now, I find myself in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Awesome. I've been to all those places, so I can picture a little bit about where you've been.
Right, nice.
So, do you want to tell me about how you first came to know that you wanted to be a recreational therapist?
Sure. So, like most rec therapists, I did not know that this profession existed before I started university. So when I started school, I changed my major so many times. The first year I was going to do education, and then I decided no, I wanted to do social work. Um and then after I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that either. I decided to take a year off school. So instead of going back to school my third year, I actually moved out west and went to Banff to go and do like a little I don't know, ski bum year, go and hang out with my friends and snowboard and ski and just really kind of relax and let life sort itself out. And while I was skiing one day at Sunshine Mountain, I saw this group of adaptive skiers out on the slopes. And I just remember being, like compelled to go up to the group and ask them what they were doing. Like something about it just seemed really cool to me. So I made my way over to the group and I introduced myself and I said, what kind of group is this? And who I met was a recreation therapist. So yeah, which it was so, the universe works in mysterious ways. So I got home that day from the mountain and I started researching rec therapy programs and just found out that the university I had started at, Memorial University, actually also offered a therapeutic recreation degree. So I ended up the next year going back to Newfoundland to go to school.
Wow, cool. And was that like a 4-year program, 2 year?
So I did what you would call a victory lap. It took me 5 years to do my education just because I switched it so many times. And then when I finally went back to school, the program I was in was actually a co op program. So there were 3 semesters of internships, which is really nice because I had an internship in municipality parks and recreation, which is interestingly where I find myself now. I did one with Easter Seals, which was an amazing experience. And then I did my final one as my NCTRC 14-week placement. So although it took me an extra year to get the degree, those co-ops were such a valuable experience that it didn't bug me at all.
Totally. Did you do that third one?
So the third one was back in my hometown of Halifax, Nova Scotia. And it was with it was at the Dartmouth General Hospital, so it was with Nova Scotia Health Authority. At the time, it was called Capital Health, but now they've switched the name of it. And it's interesting because the internship itself, it was one that another internship that I had set up had fallen through last minute, and this was one that just kind of fell into my lap, and I was so grateful for it. The thing about it was that it was a consult rec therapist. So a lot of the work that I was doing was very like heavy on the side of assessment, documentation, team meetings. Like I wasn't doing a ton of the intervention, which is the fun part of being a rec therapist. So that 14 weeks for me, it was so challenging, but I look back on it and I'm so grateful because, my strengths, I've always been, I like to interact with people. I like to have fun with people, but, I wouldn't have said that documentation was my strength for that internship.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so it was heavy on the consult side, but I just learned such valuable skills in it that now I'm so grateful that that's how it's all played out.
Right. And so how did you end up in Florida now?
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, for 9 years, I've been kind of all over the place, but I was in Memphis, Tennessee, doing a job as a rec therapist with an organization called Youth Villages, which is an incredible organization. It was kind of my dream to one day to be able to go down there and work there with them. And while I was there, I met my now partner, Jason, who we decided together to move down to Florida. So we moved down here together it'll be 2 years in May, and it's been incredible.
Wow. Cool. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
So what do you like most about being a rec therapist?
I like in the deepest part of my soul just believe that what we do is so valuable. You know, I've seen it time and time again, the interventions and the work that we do and the compassion that we bring to a team,
Mhm.
that the work that a rec therapist does is life changing, purpose giving. And I feel so grateful to be able to, have fun and, increase someone's enjoyment and happiness while also knowing that it's going to affect their health and well being. So
Mhm.
it's kind of, a broad ideal of what I think the discipline is, which I enjoy the most, but it makes even like the mundane tasks enjoyable because the impact that you're having on the community that you're serving.
Totally. Just a job that has so much meaning and purpose.
100%. Yeah. And you see it every day. And it's one of those things that, I so many times people would tell me, we're so grateful for what you do, like what you offer is amazing. And I've had to like really work on like what do I say when people say that. And the truth is I'm always like I'm grateful to do the work. Like I'm grateful to be able to have this job because not everyone has a job that they feel so passionate about.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely how I feel about that.
Cool. And like throughout your whole almost 9 years, you felt the same way.
So I would say like my career has kind of gone like, times when I was super, super passionate about it, and then times when there would be a lull. And, to a certain extent, that's normal. When I first started as a rec therapist, the first few years, I really struggled with feeling a bit of an imposter. Like you know, I didn't trust my abilities. I didn't think I was as worthy as the other members on the team. You come to a table and usually as the rec therapist, you're the only one on that interdisciplinary team. There might be multiple like doctors, social workers, but usually the rec therapist is the only one. And
Right.
me coming in as, like a 24-year-old on these teams, I just remember feeling so out of place. Even though I knew, like, I believed in what I was doing, I was like, you know, what value am I really bringing? I'm not as important as the doctor. I'm not as important as the social worker, And I really started to second guess myself. But the amazing thing is that throughout my different jobs and throughout, personal and professional life, I've just developed such a reverence for the work because really when you think about life and how when people are thriving, it's because they're participating in life fully. They have great friendships, they're socializing, and they're engaging in activities that they really enjoy doing. They're taking care of their holistic health. And I'm like, that's what we do. So really, we're one of the most important people. No, everyone's important on the team, but I just, I can relate to anyone who feels like a bit of an imposter at first, especially, when you're a brand new grad. But I also think that a lot of other, new grads and just other disciplines feel the same way. But I was able to work through that, and hopefully everybody else can too.
Yeah. So maybe do you want to tell me now about how your like online content and like growth through flow kind of came about?
Yeah, so it's kind of all been a path that what brought me to where I'm at now has been over this 9-year period. And a few years ago, I was going through a pretty difficult time in my life personally. I had lost a really good friend. He had passed away, and I had just moved to Memphis. And I wasn't, around family and friends. And I was working a job that was quite emotionally challenging. And I was feeling like I I didn't really feel that zest for life that I had felt before. And so, I kind of rec therapist myself, and I was like, well, what could I do that would, bring a bit of a spark back to my life? And I was like, well, Megan, you love writing. Why don't you start a blog? And even if it's just your mom who reads it, at least you'll enjoy the process of writing and sharing. And then I was also, reflecting back to my first few years as a rec therapist, thinking about how I wanted that online community. Like I wanted to have other rec therapists out there that I could share my experience with and relate to and grow with. And so it was kind of twofold. It was, me taking care of my own mental, emotional well being, but then also wanting to be able to share my experience and my knowledge, and then to be able to like create and be part of a community that I had always craved in my career. And so I assumed other people did too.
Yeah. Cool. I guess that kind of answers like even the name. Or do you want to say more about how the name came about?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think back to how I actually came up with the name. I love oh it, so the concept of flow, the theory of flow was my first aha moment in university. I remember the professor teaching about it, and I think it was, theory of leisure. That was the course, and we were talking about flow and Csikszentmihalyi and, how rec therapists and leisure professionals use flow in their practice. And I instantly got it because I was thinking about snowboarding and snowboarding at Sunshine Mountain like I did in Banff. And so I'd grown up skiing, but I decided that I was going to teach myself how to snowboard. And so the first few days, it was very, very challenging. And then by the third or fourth day, something just clicked, and I was in flow zone, flow state for like 8 hours. Like I didn't stop to eat, I didn't stop to pee. Like I was just on the mountain all day. And so when I learned about flow theory and how much that day gave me and how important that day was, it was just like this. It just felt like I was connected to flow theory. So I knew I wanted to have flow in the title. And then I thought, growing through the flow, like cute way to describe what we do.
Yeah. It's probably hard for you to snowboard now being in Florida, hey?
Mm. Oh my goodness, yes, I miss it. Hopefully, next year, maybe when COVID is gone, might be able to get back to some
Yeah.
snowboarding.
Do you surf there?
So I'm in St. Petersburg, so I'm on the Gulf side. So there's not a ton of surf over here, but I would love to learn. And I know that there's people who do it on the East Coast and up in like Pensacola, up in that area. So
Okay. Yeah.
goal someday.
Hmm. How do you think that, or how would you say that COVID has like affected your work recently, or has it?
Yeah, so initially when COVID started, we shut down and I ended up working from home. And March is a really busy time for us because we start a summer camp that runs June, July. So March, April, May is kind of like peak planning season. And so COVID just kind of threw this huge wrench in, and we didn't know, I was trying to plan this camp from home and organize, and we didn't know if camp was going to go ahead. Um, but we ended up being able to offer our summer camp. It was just like a very limited capacity. So
Do you want to
since
maybe
that
just
time,
say, like what you kind of work for, or who you work for, and what people you serve?
yeah, so I work for a Parks and Recreation department within the city of St. Petersburg. and we're a therapeutic recreation division. So our mandate or our purpose is to serve folks in the community with physical, intellectual, and developmental disabilities. And so we provide recreation, leisure, and play opportunities. And one of my favorite programs and one of our most attended and most loved in the community is our summer camp called Camp Redbird. And
Okay.
so that's the camp that I'm referring to.
Okay, cool. So you're supposed to be planning in March and April, and then you have to run at a very small capacity.
Yeah, so we ran the camp with every precaution, every precaution you could think about. We had so many team meetings, Zoom meetings at the time, trying to think through, we have this vulnerable population with this very unprecedented time in our life with a virus that, although we knew how to protect ourselves from, it was this ever looming kind of fear that either, a staff or that a child or a participant would catch it. So we worked really, really hard, the team did, to make sure that what we offered was as safe as possible. And to date, we have not had a participant in our program test positive for COVID from, in our programs or be present in one of our programs. So I feel very lucky. I'm going to knock on wood because, we're still in the middle of this. But since that time, we have been running our programs in person, which I know is not the same for a lot of people. Florida has taken a different approach than a lot of other, provinces and states have with COVID. And you might agree, you might not agree with what your administration decides, but all you can do after that is ensure that what you offer is the safest programming possible to protect. And as a manager, I'm protecting not only the participants but also the staff that I work with. So yeah, it's definitely been a challenging time, but we've learned it's definitely been a time of adapting, and we've learned a lot of resiliency skills and how to be able to bounce back when you don't think you can.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Okay, well, I'm a up and coming CTRS, and so I was wondering if you have any advice for me in like maybe even looking for fieldwork positions or ways to like get those CEUs every year and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you're in your final year of your program?
I in my third year, so I still have 2 more semesters and then a fieldwork position.
Right. Okay. So my suggestion for you at this stage is to just, number one, absorb everything you can while you're in school, but know that that knowledge is going to grow exponentially while you're in the real world,
Yeah.
because unfortunately, fortunately, nothing goes according to plan for the most part. And you just get into situations and you have these circumstances come up like COVID-19, where what you really need to be able to thrive is a growth mindset. And so, maybe even taking some time while you're in university, working on your growth mindset and knowing that if you can make it through 4 years of university, you can do you can do anything as long as you know that you can develop the skills to do it. So there's this great book called Mindset by Carol Dweck. Let me see if I got it right here. Mindset, yeah.
Okay.
But I think if I was a student and I could go back and someone put this in my hands, it probably would have changed a lot of the things I did in my 20s. But developing a growth mindset while you're in school will definitely help you while you're out in the field. So that's suggestion number one. Suggestion number two is to connect with as many rec therapists as you can, because every rec therapist I've ever met is different and they have new nuggets of wisdom to pass on to you, depending, where they're at in their career, who they work with, what population they serve, what their experiences have been. So connecting with rec therapists and, trying to hone in on like, okay, what do I really want to do with my career? What population do I want to start off with? What setting do I want to begin in? And then knowing that that can grow and evolve with time. And yeah, I think that would feed into your whole field placement thing, because if you're reaching out to different rec therapists and thinking almost, back to my experience in my internship, it to me it did not at the time feel like the ideal internship, but that's because it was extremely challenging in the sense that what I was doing daily wasn't in my wheelhouse of natural skills and talents. So through that process, I, became a more well-rounded therapist. And so I would say maybe thinking about what areas, if you really love running programs right now, maybe looking at a placement where you could really focus in on that assessment documentation piece. And if you're more into paperwork and doing that sort of work, and you get kind of nervous doing patient interviews or running a group, then maybe finding a placement where you're doing more of that, so that you're going to be challenging yourself, so that at the end you feel like you have the skills to go out into the workforce.
Totally. Yeah, I'm excited to keep learning and figure out what that career will look like for me.
Yeah, of course. Do you have an idea of where you want to go or what you want to end up in?
Um, it changes every day.
That's okay. It'll change throughout your career too, and that's very cool.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about recreational therapy is that you can serve so many different populations and be in so many different settings. So
Yeah, of course.
I'm kind of thinking like either like adults with disabilities or mental health.
Yeah,
Those are my
both amazing. Yeah, I've worked in both, and challenging in their own ways, but beautiful and rewarding. Both of them, yeah.
yeah. Well, thanks so much for taking this time. I think we'll end it there. But
Yeah,
everyone should follow Grow Through Flow on Instagram, and you just started a YouTube channel not too long ago, or is
I
it?
did. Yeah, no, I started not too long ago. I have about 8 videos up there, so I'm still learning, trying another leisure pursuit myself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.